first, I wanted to thank our guests for coming. I know that we've had quite a bit of excitement, even though we don't have that many people joining. That's the reason we had a lot of requests for people to ask us to record this so they can watch it later. This has been something that we've been talking about for a while. I know that everybody is probably at capacity on workload right now, so I definitely want to thank our guests again for taking time to speak with us and answer some questions that we might have and shed some light on some issues that y'all are having as well. I think that the more communication between the different parties of a transaction, and it just always is better and more efficient, which always brings a better process to the buyers. So again, thank you to our guests for joining us. Thank you, as always, to Mara and Julie for their leadership in getting this pulled together. And we'll stop talking because I know everybody did not join to hear me speak, so I'm going to turn it over to Mara and our guests. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Matt. For those of you who are not aware, the two appraisers we have with us so far, Ed Grantham and John Newell. I know you all know them, both very experienced, tenured in the appraisal business. So before we get to some of the questions, do one of y'all want to start off with just kind of addressing how COVID has affected your average workday and inspecting homes?
I've seen some scared homeowners.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Pretty much, no. I think for the most part, it's been fairly similar to the past. It's just that, I'm wearing a mask and got gloves on when I go through the house, and sometimes they leave the house and sometimes they don't. It just depends on what their schedule is. So it hadn't really slowed me down any.
Good. Has anybody?
For me, it's there just aren't enough hours in the day.
That's a good problem to have.
It is.
Has anybody just not allowed you in the house at all?
No, I've had an issue with that. About 3 weeks into the shutdown, I called a gentleman to set up an appointment, and he said, well, I'm at home, that's no problem. How about 11:30 this morning? I arrive and see him sitting in a chair inside, knock on the door, and he looks over at me, turns his head back and continues watching TV. And I just stand there for about 30 seconds. And finally, his wife comes to the door and just has an absolute look of shock on her face, and said, who are you and what are you doing here? And he turns around and said, oh, I'm sorry. I fell and hurt my leg a little while ago and forgot to tell my wife you were coming. And once I told her what I was doing, she said, you're not coming in my house.
Oh,
and so I sat on the front steps, talked to her for a little bit. He had asked me, wear a mask, wear gloves, and she'll be okay. She said, absolutely not. I have 5 kids in here, and with you and myself and my husband, that puts us over the 6 limit, so you can't come in my house. And so I left, called the lender, had them call them and tell them that they won't be able to do the loan if I'm not allowed inside the house. And finally got back in a week later, but she left with the kids while I was inside. It was kind of a peculiar situation. And I've had a couple of people that beyond that have, worn masks while I'm inside the house. But generally speaking, it's been business as usual for me.
Good. How about you, Ed?
It's really the closest I came to having somebody not let me in, and they did not let me in. It's just that they had their mask and gloves on inside the house, and when I went inside with my mask and gloves, they of course asked me to take my shoes off. They didn't want anything from the outside into their house. But for the most part, it hasn't been that difficult as far as I'm concerned. It's just a matter of being sure of that you're doing what the homeowner wants you to do so that they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, the lone bright spot in all of this, for the last 3 months, I have not made a phone call to try and set an appointment that the person wasn't like, come whenever you want to. We're at home. You know, it has been the easiest to set appointments that you can ever imagine.
That is so surprising. But that's good to hear. You know, I guess they know it has to be done.
And you know, the first month and a half, it was what, at least my job consisted of probably, my orders consisted of probably 75% refinances, just no cash out refinances, which again, that makes it very easy because they were at home. And on refinances, it's always more difficult to schedule an appraisal than a sale because you don't have an MLS lockbox and you don't have a realtor that can give you access. So it's always more difficult. But since that time, the first month and a half, 75% refinances. Since then, I'm probably 75 to 80% sales right now, as far as my volume goes. And I expect to see in the next 2 or 3 months a change back to refinances, probably along with sales. But I think we're going to see at that point in time cash out refis. People are going to find themselves in a pinch for money, and if they have equity in their house, that's the best place to locate it.
That makes sense, actually. It'll be interesting to see what happens on that front. I was on a call right before this that predicted unemployment's going to spike up again, even higher than it was before, which is really scary to think of. People have already spent their stimulus checks, so that won't help them. Okay, so one of the questions we had for y'all was, many people believe FHA appraisals are more conservative than conventional. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't do FHA.
I'll run with this one. They're a little more strict as far as the requirements. You know, there can be no, they're very picky about deferred maintenance, any chipping paint on the exterior or interior, any deteriorated wood, any broken windows, those kinds of things are FHA and VA for that matter are sticklers on. And as of 5 years ago, I would have said that FHA was more strict than conventional, but the truth of the matter is they changed their guidelines about 5 years ago, and now I've had houses that have bare concrete floors inside of them, and I'm not talking stained scored, I'm just talking they pulled up the flooring, they pulled up carpet, they pulled up hardwood, and it's just bare concrete flooring. FHA will accept that right now. They just won't accept those things that will continue to deteriorate and put their investment at risk.
Wonder why they did that.
I don't know, but I have run across it 2 or 3 times now where there are things that, and a conventional loan, you would have a very hard time getting that through underwriting.
Wow.
But with FHA, it's not been an issue.
Ed, you said you don't do FHA?
Do what, Mara?
You said you don't do FHA?
I do not.
Aren't you lucky?
Well, I decided a long time ago, as you know, if you were FHA approved and they sent you an assignment, there was no decline in the assignment.
Right.
And so I was in a position to pick and choose, so I decided not to take that avenue.
I understand. Makes sense. For the lenders on the call, what have y'all seen in terms of appraisals you're getting in on FHA versus conventional? Are you seeing any difference? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, the next question is, what market times are you currently seeing in the various markets in our area? How long are the properties staying on the market for Rankin Hines Madison?
I talked to a realtor this morning who said that the last 3 deals that she's been involved in, they have been multiple offer situations. There are right now as for comparison, May of 2019 compared to May of 2020, we're down, that same month over month, we're down 17.4% in new listings. And we are up 34% in pending sales. So right now we are in a seller's market, and I put an offer in on a house a couple of days ago, and we were the third offer in 4 days on it. So that's what I'm seeing in the market is we have a significant shortage of housing out there right now. And we've had an issue with, in my mind anyway, with a really high spread between pricing of new construction and existing construction. New construction is, they just aren't, I thought the spread between the two has been exceedingly wide, and I think we're going to see that tighten now because there's a shortage of new construction. People are starting to look for those existings, and that's what I'm seeing. The realtor said these are multiple offers on existing construction houses. So I think we're going to see a significant uptick in value in existing construction over the next 6 months.
Hey, Mara, this is Matt. Do you mind if I ask a follow-up question to that?
Please do.
If y'all don't mind, because that is a very interesting point on new construction, especially in certain hot spots in the Tri-County area. Right now, though, what percentage of new construction versus existing dwellings would you say y'all are appraising? Is it about 50-50, 60-40? What's the kind of trend right now?
That's a good question. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
No, I'm just looking at my board here, so y'all go ahead.
Okay. From what I've been dealing with, I'd say probably it's close to a third of refinance and home equity line of credits, a third new construction, which includes custom builds, and a third of existing homes.
I'm probably seeing more existing home sales right now than new construction because there's just a shortage of it out there. And that's going to become, in August, I think that's going to become more of a factor because typically builders have their big starts in September, October, November, and again in March. And the September, October, Novembers come online in March, right at spring break. That's when they want to have them out there for sale, but that's when everything shut down. So they had new construction available, but they didn't make those starts at that same time because they didn't know what the market was. And I think a lot of builders delayed 2 months on starting new houses. So come July, August, we're going to see a really significant shortage of new construction housing. And then September, October, they'll start to come back online, but there's going to be a real shortage, I think, July, August in new construction houses.
And if you don't mind me asking, on the new construction, because I'm hearing this from builders, because we're getting delayed in construction right now. Have y'all heard that certain trades are not working on the same house at the same time because of COVID-19?
Well, I have not heard that.
I'm doing a flip right now myself. I bought a fixer-upper and am doing it, and that was the first thing that I did was assured all of my subs that they would not be working with anyone else.
Okay. Are y'all thinking that contractors are doing the same and following suit? Is that going to cause a delay in having these spec homes ready?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think the contractors or the subs care.
Okay.
From what I've seen, for the most part, they're just wanting to work, and there's a lot of work to be done, and everybody's kind of, frazzled, but working as hard as they can. And I don't see that. As far as in the houses that I go in, I'm seeing overlapping of crews.
Okay.
It has not been an issue that I've noticed, but on mine, because I had a vacant house I wanted to assure the guys that they would be, because it's difficult to pick up subs for, you know, one-time jobs when builders are that busy and they could work for a builder and stay busy all the time. So I've had to kind of give them that incentive that they can work safely.
Well, thank you. That's great information. Thank you, Mar.
Sure. Any other questions? Well, I'm very glad to hear that the COVID has not affected y'all, because obviously very early on we were hearing stories of how our appraisers going to get in houses, how our appraisers going to be comfortable, how are the homeowners going to be comfortable. But I think y'all
Mhm.
addressed that well, that it just has to be done. So everybody's got to buck it up and get it done just in a modified manner. And I'm really thrilled to hear how busy y'all are.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
and just a couple of more points here as far as some statistics. I'm a statistic geek at times,
Mhm.
but inventory out there just of homes for sale. In May of 2019, we had 2,543 houses for sale. May of 2020, we had 1,683 houses for sale. That's 33.8% drop in inventory.
Wow.
That shows you why we're seeing multiple offers on houses and why the marketing time has dropped significantly, and why we're seeing the average home sale price increase right now pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Hey,
To me, that was pretty interesting stuff.
That is, it's very telling.
And it's also kind of a good leeway for this question. It looks like we're all going to be on this roller coaster for at least this year. What can we do as lenders to help y'all, just help y'all in general, and make the process more efficient?
Give us more time. That has been an issue, but I've actually had 2 or 3 lenders now voluntarily, knowing what's going on, and it may be because they're backlogged, I don't know, but a lot of them that have typically given me a 5-day turn time are now giving me 7, and some that were giving me 7 are giving me 9. So again, I don't know if it's out of the kindness of their heart, or they're just booked solid themselves, but it's been helpful. And then there's some that just don't want to budge on that, and I've had to turn down quite a few because I just couldn't meet turn time.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do y'all still check for lead paint on FHAs?
I don't check for lead paint. What I do is if it's pre-1978 and it's FHA, I note that there is a high probability of the existence of lead paint on there. And then you've got that lead disclosure, that has to be taken care of by the realtors and the buyer seller. But all I do is note it. And if there's any chipping paint, then I have to require it be scraped and repainted.
And what about asbestos?
If I don't see asbestos readily, then I don't note it. And there was the head of the Mississippi DEQ spoke about three months ago at a realtor gathering, and he talked a lot about asbestos and lead paint, and they're not as big a sticklers for it as I thought they were, to be honest with you. When he showed me the paperwork and what had to be done, it was less restrictive than I had ever thought it was. So yes, fill out the paperwork, but it typically is not that big of a deal where you have to hire expensive remediation or anything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Plus, we're many years removed from it being used. The further away we get from when it was used, the less it's going to matter.
That's
As
right.
a matter of fact, in talking with that gentleman, I always thought that when you see these asbestos shingles on the exterior of houses, the siding, that
Mhm.
you had to have that remediated to remove it. You had to hire a professional crew to come in and do that, and they were going to charge you 10 times market price to do that. He said that you do not. You wash it, wet it before you remove it, and then you can just pull it right off, and it's no problem. He said it's the dust that gets you, and DEQ does not require that be professionally remediated.
I did not know that.
I didn't either until he told me that, and I was glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Really?
Because personally,
Wow.
I had done it in the quiet of night once myself. So
We won't tell. We'll keep that between us. Anybody else have any questions and or comments on the subject? Okay. Well, it has been very valuable information. Y'all have covered it pretty quickly. I can't think of any additional questions myself. The ones I had in my head have been covered. I'm glad, like I said, I'm so glad to hear things are going well. It's interesting to me that I'm hearing turn times in underwriting are extending now halfway through June. When you would have thought things were starting to improve a little bit, people are just now really getting to the point. I heard with one lender today that refis could sit in underwriting for 3 weeks easily, which I just thought all of that would have been alleviated a little bit by now. So it looks like things are not easing up volume-wise is my point of that. So y'all may not appreciate it because you're exhausted, but I'm glad to hear for the overall housing industry that that's what's going on. Especially when I'm hearing from everybody that it's more purchases than refis now. Obviously, when we had
Yeah.
the refi boom in the spring, none of us knew what was going to happen with purchases. So we're kind of holding our breath saying when these refis goes away, what is going to happen? So huge relief for all of us that has picked up.
now, this the statistics that I was spouting off earlier are from the Central Mississippi MLS, and
Okay.
I just got their market heartbeat for the 10-county area that CMMLS covers just a couple of days ago, and that's where this came from. That is actually public information. If you would give me your email address, I can email it to you, and then you can email it out to everybody from there if you'd like.
Great. If you'll reply to Caitlin's email with that,
Okay,
you'll get it to us.
I'll
And
do
you
it.
said it was from Central Mississippi Realtors?
Central Mississippi MLS, yes. So that's
MLS.
Central Miss. Their spinoff of Central Mississippi Realtors. CMR owns
Right.
CMMLS. So yes, and it's just market activity for year to date and year over year, and it's median sales prices, average sales prices, affordability index, monthly supply of inventory in all 10 counties that we cover. So it's a pretty interesting, thing that if you could spend a little time digesting.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And for me, it makes me appear smart when I'm not.
Very telling information when you look at those trends. Johnette, did you have a
Mhm.
question?
I did. Hey, thank you guys for joining us today. And I did read an article, kind of an excerpt from that I think what you were just referencing there, John, but kind of wanted to expand on that a little bit and ask a question about, it talks about the time, the marketing time, and it also talks about the median price as compared to last year. Of course, that's always, kind of the general. And I was just curious as to what y'all are seeing as far as values, like in our Tri-County areas, not only in like the 2 to 250 and under, but on the upper end, like $500,000 and above, where those had not seen as those upper priced homes in the past or the past few years have kind of maybe struggled, not seen the steadiness that we have seen in the 2 to 250 and under range. What are y'all seeing as far as the values growing or holding, or how they're doing on both ends of the spectrum?
I think on the higher end, Johnette, you're over $500,000. I'd say over the last several years, that market has become somewhat not stale, but you buy the house to live in. It's not an investment as much as it used to be anymore. So that if you're looking to buy a big house, you're looking to buy a big house to live in, not because you're going to buy a big house for $500,000 and in 3 years it's worth $750,000.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would agree. The appreciation has not been there on these larger houses like that. I have seen year over year. Typically, resales have they've depreciated a bit over time. These 3 and 5 year old houses are not selling for what they did when they were new in that high end market. Now,
Yeah, that's what we were. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been hearing and seeing as well. And I was just wondering if you had seen a change in that through. Have you seen some stabilization in that price range or through yet, or is it too soon to tell?
If you're talking about post-COVID, then I would say it's too soon to tell.
Okay.
But I personally would be, I'd be scared of anything, any of those 700,000 and above houses. We don't know where the market is going to go long term. The economy is going to go long term, and it would scare me to death. And I say that at the same time as I wrote a contract on one a couple of days ago, and we might be moving and moving up a little bit, but it's also a great time to do it because I feel like I can get a good price for my house at the same time right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, because it seems like, and things, of course, both of you, have been around the block for several years like I have, and it seems like, where the price of those starter homes and even that second step-up home, whereas it used to be, a starter home was, 1 to 150. Now I see these kids starting out at 2 to 250, and basically what we used to think the step-up home was, and so it seems like all that's just kind of pushed up. Seems like, I know from out here, it seems like that market in that 3 to 350 range is even kind of stabilized more than probably it has. Have y'all seen that as well?
Yes, a little bit. I think what has pushed the average sales price up for the typical purchaser is the fact that you can get an interest rate that's below 3.5%.
True.
So that their monthly note
True.
is something that they can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
And
they're able to purchase more than what they could have, a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, a lot more than 8 or 9%.
Correct. Yeah.
And dirt, has just gotten obscenely expensive out there. Lots, every phase in every subdivision is going up in price. It's crazy to me what these guys are getting for lot prices right now in these subdivisions.
Oh, and site prepping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, site prepping is outrageous.
So, and in saying that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to monopolize the time here. I just questions that pop in my mind. But the cost to build has gone up. So
It has.
Just wondering if that's going to be an issue with, like you guys said, the existing home. Once they get to be 3 or 4 years old, is the market going to be able to keep up with the value? Going to be able to keep up with the depreciation?
Most of y'all,
every builder I talk to says they lose money on every house they build nowadays. I don't know why they keep building if that's the case, but that's how they, they're just always beaten down. They're all making good money, but that's the way they present it is, to appraisers is we're just losing money left and right. Y'all got to get these prices up, and in my mind, prices on new construction are going up faster than I've seen them in my 27 years.
Well, back in the late 80s, you had the same problem where the cost to build and the market reaction was cutting down on the percentage that the builder was getting, because I remember them complaining that at that point in time. But most of y'all are younger than that, so it rolls about every decade or so.
Thank y'all for indulging me there. Thank you.
No,
All
thank you.
right.
Very good topic to discuss. I appreciate
You
it.
know, one interesting fact that I did some research to talk to a realtor firm a few months ago, and new construction, and I'm just well, really not new construction, just overall home sales. When you're talking homes under $300,000, there's 40% more sales in Rankin County than there are in Madison County. But when you talk about homes 400,000 and above, there are 80% more sales in Madison County than in Rankin County.
Say that again?
40% more sales of homes under $300,000 in Rankin County. They sell 40% more homes than Madison does under 300,000. But if you get over 400,000, Madison sells 80% of the houses.
Wow.
80% more than Rankin does. It's just, you know, that's and I think that's growing when you get into Flowood, but man, the traffic on Lakeland Drive has got to contribute to, you know, there's a lot of new construction going on over there, but that traffic just seems to get worse every time I go down Lakeland Drive, except for the last 3 months. It's been easy.
True. That has definitely changed the traffic, hasn't it?
You have a significant difference in lot values between Rankin and Madison, typically. And
Higher.
I think overall, it's the lot prices are higher in Madison County overall. Rankin is starting to creep up at this point in time.
They are.
Plus, I think your affluency is higher in the Madison area. And most everybody building in Madison is building something that's going to be $400,000 more anyway.
True. Goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, I think if the county and the city would allow 300,000 and below to be built in Madison County right now, that there would be a whole lot more sales. But the truth of the matter is the county has even gotten very strict on what they will allow now as far as building minimums and lot size minimums. It used to be all you had to do was step out the city limits of Madison and you could build what you wanted to, and it's no longer that way.
Interesting. I had not heard that. I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add? Okay. Well, I thank you for your time today. John and Ed, very valuable, helpful information. I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are. So
Thanks, Mara.
Okay. Y'all have a great day. Thank you again.
Thank y'all.
Glad to do it.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.